So obviously APEST, they all stand for different letters. And in Ephesians 4, Paul kind of names each of those different roles. We've already said them, but apostolic, prophetic, evangelistic, shepherding, and teaching. Apostolic is pioneering, it's the creative, um, let's go out and discover something new or build something new. Doesn't always function best kind of confined within those four walls because the very essence of an apostolic person is to go explore and create. Entrepreneurial, one might say. And so Jeff kind of described that a little bit for himself and for the students that we worked with of always imagining something more, always imagining, well, who else isn't included in the conversation, or always imagining how else could we see X, Y, or Z system work, both inside our church context and outside. And then the prophetic inclination is that speaking truth to power, that naming some of those black and white things that and calling us to act when we need to act. Again, I think Jeff can probably speak to this a little bit more because his inclinations, his top two, are that apostolic and prophetic. So that go-getter, there are things that are wrong and we need to do something about them. And the church cannot be silent on those things. And there are so many things in our world right now that we need that prophetic voice and we need that apostolic voice. And those voices are traditionally perhaps not as encouraged or constantly told, like, not here, not now, not in this context. Can you say it differently? In some of our church contexts, which means that either those voices will leave the church or they'll be silenced. And then you have the evangelistic, which kind of straddles that going and getting new worlds. They're a communicator. They're sharing a vision for something that's yeah, the gospel. Like, it's sharing the good news, which I think sometimes we forget and we miss in our context now because there are so many ways it's been so wrong and done so poorly and really wounded communities of people. Um, but there's been some really cool kind of conversations that we've gotten to have with some of our students in particular who feel this pull to want to share how the gospel has impacted their lives, how the gospel is transforming communities, their own, and in communities they've lived in around the world, and just wanting to talk about that. And that's the evangelistic impulse. That's the evangelistic kind of the power of that. And so watching students say, well, what if I didn't treat somebody as somebody to be converted, but as a friend, and just watched what conversations kind of came up out of that. So that's the evangelistic urge, and nurturing some of those students too, and bringing the right mentors around them to show them, okay, this is how we do this. And then you've got your good old shepherd and a pastoral kind of voice who just wants to care for people and bring them around and nurture them and care for them. And lots of Westmont students identify with that. I think one, maybe because of what they've been raised around, but two, it's okay that there are lots of people who want to bring people around. And then you have teachers who are really good at communicating ideas and wanting to communicate truth. And so sometimes these things bump into each other, I think, and become and have some friction and tension because you've got, what does it mean to communicate truth, and what does it mean to how do we engage what's new and communicate truth and do these all together. But that's again the beauty of thinking about it as a team, which I think Jeff kind of emphasized earlier, is how do we look at this like a team? Because expecting one person to somehow be all of those things is not it's flawed and it's unfair to that person, frankly. And a team might function way, way, way better when we're all bringing these voices together and seeing what comes out of it. So the going and the getting and the nurturing of a group of people and bringing them into true relationship with their community.